Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's show. And today, Kerin and I are going to be talking about luxury lettings and really how to turn that regular rental property. And it's something a wee bit more chic and a wee bit higher end, and something that's going to be a better earner if it is at that higher end as well. This has been the turnaround for a lot of lettings that we deal with recently, and I've seen it across the country. And I'm sure you'll agree, Kerin, that from when I first started doing lettings, from you when you come into lettings, things have changed quite a lot.
Certainly have.
And I think it's really good. There's a different standard, there's a different professional standard for us as agents and landlords who manage themselves. And just that overall finish and how properties for let are presented and handed over to tenants, quite rightly so, in a much better condition. And just that wee touch of luxury as well, I think, really brings in that different clientele as well. So there's definitely a market for it, and we're going to cover that today.
We've got a few properties that definitely tick the boxes when it comes to looking at your luxury ones. So, and again, they're always the best ones to do the viewings at, and the ones that get the best reactions from viewers as well.
Yeah, I mean, they get a lot of interest, they look good, they make for a really nice listing, they attract really high end quality tenants who want to pay more to stay there. And so, I mean, if you're in that kind of bracket, then these are the things we're going to talk about today is what you need to think about. The main question I think everybody's going to ask themselves if they have a rental property is your rental property actually truly reaching its full, income potential as well? Or could it be a little bit more profitable? And that is the question that you need to ask. So, I mean, discerning renters, they are looking for that little bit more sophisticated kind of home lifestyle, something that goes just beyond that bricks and mortar property, and also somebody that kind of reflects their success, or maybe gives them that little bit more comfort and style. And it is very much an on-trend thing now to have that comfort and style side by side at a different level, especially for working professionals and things as well. And by understanding the expectations of your target audience, you could really create that elevated living experience. And that really transforms just that standard buy-to-let property into a design-led kind of space and really on trend. And it could generate years of great income potential for your buy-to-let property. So these are all things that are really important. And any rental home can be reframed to kind of attract that different audience, depending on what, like I say, your target audience is. And every postcode has tenants at various kind of income levels. So why not upgrade yours to target a market that's probably maybe a wee bit in the higher level, or possibly even the highest that's available in that area, and see how you get on. But in order to do that, you need to put the work in and have it at a certain level. So extra potential isn't always that obvious as such. And as we are well aware, and I'm sure if you're involved in property, there is no two properties that are really exactly the same. So this list that we're going to go through today, we've kind of compiled, the successful improvements that you can do and that we've seen have worked, and really they're an inspirational thing for making your investment the best it can be. So let's run through them this morning. I'll run through what they are first, obviously. There's first class impressions, which you're going to run through with us, Kerin. We're going to go on to that elevated interior style. We could look at upscaling areas like your kitchen and your bathroom. Of course, we have minimal EPC banding and things coming in. So, smart choices and those eco upgrades as well. And then we'll look at outside as well, and that luxury outside living, because everybody now, I think, since the pandemic and lockdown, and people have kind of made so much more use of their outside space, and it's so important to people, whether you're in the city, whether you're, in somewhere semi-rural, either way, outside space is so important, and you can make it that little bit classy and luxury as well. So yeah, it's really all about creating that irresistible home that commands kind of top tier rents, and by signaling kind of luxury and attention to detail wherever you turn in a property. When you're doing a viewing, Kerin, you'll just like you were trying to kind of explain at the beginning there, they make for such a good listing, and when you view with them, people see it at every turn, and that's where your rental could really start earning more, than you ever probably thought it could. So let's run through that this morning, and Kerin, you kick us off with first impressions.
Yes, so your high-paying tenants like to feel seduced, which means the outside of your property, from its view from the street to the front door, close up, it really matters, and it should convey quality and meticulous care. So as we say, first impressions count, and that applies to your house as well.
Yeah.
So as well as setting the tone for an entire viewing, its initial impact can even make the difference between getting an inquiry or somebody dismissing it. Obviously, as we say, you've got your curb appeal, you need that, especially if you're leading in with your main photo, which is usually the exterior of the property. That is the first impression that somebody's going to get before they even start to look inside. You can have a house that's gorgeous on the inside, but if you don't have that curb appeal, that is the first impression that the house is given off. So, I mean, we've touched on gardens already, but just various things to obviously make sure you've got your curb appeal there.
Yeah.
But it is a wise area to focus on, and your attention to detail should include areas such as an inviting approach. So think sumptuous rather than stark, with generous planting, welcome lighting, well-swept pathways, and all-round tidiness. So obviously the weather you get a lot of wind. So if there's, like, for example, rubbish lying around in the garden, it's not the best first impression. So that we sweep up before viewing start can make such a difference.
I think with rental properties as well, like you're saying about the garden, and some people might have the vision of like, well, I want to have it really low maintenance and not have an upkeep there where it's going to fall back on them as the landlord to, if you've got maybe mature trees and things but there is a balance where you could have low maintenance but still have some greenery there and plants and things. So yeah, there is that balance you can find without having, a big mature garden that you would probably have possibly in your own property. And maybe if you're an avid gardener and things, spend a lot of time doing that. You can still have it nice with some nice pots and things set out. And like you say, create that curb appeal that kind of catches your eye. Like, that's really nice. And
keeping on the topic of curb appeal, having an attractive front door in a timeless colour such as racing green, midnight blue, or charcoal grey, dressed with high quality hardware, prepared with a thick, plain doormat. I think the doormat's quite a good point as well, because it even just sets that kind of thought in people's head of you should be giving your feet a wipe before you come in. And even when we're doing viewings, having one on the inside as well is really important, because especially in the winter time, it's not so bad in the summer just now, but in the winter time when you've got multiple viewers coming in, obviously they should ideally be taking their shoes off if it's a wet day or if they've got dirty shoes, but you still need that space for them to be able to come in and take them off without dirtying the rest of the floor. So having your mat either both inside and out, I would say, kind of sets that expectation that take your shoes off, wipe your feet.
Yeah. And you're right about the front door and having it, like that green or blue or was it midnight grey you said?
Yes, we have grey, green or blue. I mean, most of the doors we have are that white, which is fine. White UPVC doors, again, is still, I mean, it's another timeless one. But
I think the greys and whites have taken over from the magnolias and the creams and whatever from, and that's very much on trend now. I think it'll be quite a long time before grey actually maybe fade. I don't know what would come next actually. It'd be interesting to see that. Interestingly, because half my house is grey and white. But anyway, but yeah, grey. I mean, I don't think white ever will, but I wonder when the grey trend will eventually. I mean, I think it will be a long time because it kind of goes with a lot. Anyway,
I think we're seeing a lot of kind of warmer tones coming in, but they're still very neutral base, kind of staying for like your warmer side, but staying away from that magnolia.
Yeah,
I don't think magnolia will ever make its comeback, but hopefully not anyway. But even like your warmer tones, such as like light woodwork as well, we're seeing that coming in quite a lot more as well. For obviously, I think that'll probably be the next kind of modern trend to have, and it does. Like, we've been in properties and it's had that sense, and it just gives it that nice bit of warmth to it. And I've seen landlords kind of go for that when they're doing their decor side as well, just maybe going for warmer tones as opposed to white walls. The only downside for that in a rental property, it's fine with your own home, but with a rental, it's not as future-proofed as a white wall. Obviously, white is easy to touch up. If you're going for different tonal colours, it can be very hard to, even if you have the same paint for that touch-up to go on the same, you can usually still tell quite a lot. So it's finding that balance between kind of what's modern and going to be attractive for that, getting that higher quality, but also what's going to be future proof for you, the fact that you are going to have tenants in it and could have that turnover as well.
Yeah, thinking about the longevity of things and the life within the property, or like you say, the ability to kind of touch up and get it ready for the next tenant if need be.
Yeah. And obviously coming back to that exterior side as well, keeping any communal areas clean, warmly lit and welcoming. So it is astonishing how washing down walls, vacuuming and removing unwanted posts can improve things dramatically. And again, that's still part of the first impression. If you're going up a communal stairwell or a communal close, if it's not well lit, if it's dark, if it's not clean, it can make, especially if you've got a tenant on their own, it can make them feel a bit unsafe if that's what they're having to walk through to get to their front door. So having that area nice and clean, nice and well lit as well, can make all the difference, as I say, especially if you've got somebody in on their own.
Yeah, I think as well, I think we had one recently in St Andrews and the communal stairway. I mean, I first went out and the owner, look, obviously it's a shared stairway, but obviously, you know, I had students and things about different like people living in the building, and it wasn't that inviting. It was a little bit grubby and things. And she got her cleaners to go in and clean it all, sweep it all down, clean it on. And when I went back, I'm like, wow, see the difference it made to walk in. It was all nice and clean and tidy, and she didn't like go to the other neighbours and split it and things. She just got it done, and it just made so much of a difference. And obviously, because of where we were and what it was, you know, rent level was a bit high on things, so the expectation is there that things need to be of a certain way, especially when people are paying a premium rent. So yeah, it made all the difference.
Yeah, exactly. A strong first impression validates the premium price point and reassures potential tenants that long before they cross the threshold, that something special waits inside for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, do you know, when we move, like you're saying, from that first impression and that exterior and things, if we are in areas like, say, St Andrews and another kind of where we are commanding premium rents, and you're going to have that, like that kind of elevated interior style, and that's what I'm going to talk about just now. Now, we always, as a buy to let and somebody that advises people on buy to let investments and things, I always tell them, you know, stick to the mid range, don't overspend and things. But if you're at that other level and you've got working professionals, or you're in places like, you know, St Andrews, and you've got certain rent levels, you're going to need to maybe up your game a little, and that's where that elevated style comes in. I mean, if you really want rental properties to kind of win the hearts of these premium tenants and deliver that possibly slightly wee bit more elegance and balance of style, you know, and comfort, along with obviously practicality, then you need to know like the interiors and things, and have that cohesive design narrative. And if you don't have that, get somebody to advise you how to do that, because there is ways and means of doing it. And that means really focusing on the high quality elements that feel, do you know, that bit sophisticated but still livable. And do you know, the details kind of contribute to that elevated experience when you know, when you go through the property, do you know, touches and the touch of something, how things feel and how it makes you feel, and things like that. And that all comes through on, do you know, if you're doing fixtures and fittings and thinking, right, okay, do that little bit more of a durable fitting, where that's, you know, instead of just like laminate flooring. I mean, I'm not a big fan in any case, but if you've got, do hardwood floors, or a wee bit more engineered hardwood timber on the floor, do you know, it'll last longer, it'll look a lot more stylish. It is a wee bit more expensive, but it commands that higher rent because you've got these more expensive finishings in there, along with, like, instead of just a standard radiator, do a little bit more of the, the designer radiators or these vertical radiators and things. Make sure, be careful with vertical radiators. Some of them don't actually give out a lot of heat. I've noticed that, so that's something to think about. And even stylish, the doors? Your doors and the handles. I really love the oak doors with the chrome handle. I think that's quite, it's on trend. That's quite nice. Obviously, if it's in keeping with the kind of property you're in. They don't have to be solid oak doors. They could be doors with the oak panel on them, but they still look like that. So, I mean, I think that's a really good point as well. And then we come to obviously we just spoke about it slightly, but that sophisticated colour palette on the walls, light and warm, but still neutral. So, what were the colours we spoke about there? Obviously, the greys and whites. the typical things, but you said we're starting to bring in different kind of slightly different colours, but I would be careful with colour on walls.
Yeah, I think it's different, like you say, kind of like more woodwork, like your doors or even like the flooring, kind of going for that lighter tonal. But it is, as I say, quite future-proof to be able to stick with white. It's easy to touch up. It goes on well. So depending on what you've got underneath it, but hopefully it goes on well. So yeah.
White, I think, is quite a safe one. It still could be very stylish. And I think also as well, you could do the woodwork and the skirtings and things like that. You could do them white as well, not gloss, not white gloss, but you could do them white as well. And then it could add a wee bit of elevation. It could make the room feel a bit higher or wider. It's a lot easier when you're obviously freshening up between tenancies and things if everything's all the one colour. But could still, and then people could bring in their own things and add to that quite easily if it's just a clear, fresh palette. I think that's quite an important thing as well.
Yeah, if you've got that neutral base, it makes it quite easy for somebody to come in and make it feel like their home, and their furniture is more likely to go with the property because it is neutral. So it's more easier for people to match things and envision it as well. If they've got quite a blank canvas that they're coming into, it's different if you've maybe had a tenant that's had it quite uniquely decorated, and then a new tenant comes in and is trying to figure out how that's going to go with their style. Whereas if you've got it quite plain and quite fresh,
it incorporate their own style as well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then I think when I was talking about obviously the timber or oak doors and things and the finishings, do you know that kind of bespoke joinery, and then that's having really nice finished skirtings and fascias. I think is just, it really finishes a property off and makes it that little bit extra kind of sophisticated and luxury. Do you know what? We've been in a lot of properties over the years, and some of the skirtings and fascias and things could be in such a mess, and it's so off-putting. So yeah, if you're having your doors and things done, have a wee bit of bespoke joinery. Have that additional, possibly storage cupboard or things that are in there that could provide storage, but at the same time alleviate, you know, having the need for clutter and things to be lying about. Storage is such a big thing up there. It's up there with parking and things as well in properties. It's something that people always ask about. So yeah, if you've got a good joiner that possibly could do that and put a nice finish on it, it would add all the difference, definitely.
Yeah, cupboard spaces, like storage, is definitely something that I always point out when I'm doing a viewing, because it is such an important thing to somebody. And if you've got a cupboard that's got like fitted wardrobes, perfect. Somebody doesn't have to, because I mean, wardrobes can be quite expensive to buy, and also a lot of hassle to move as well if you've got bigger ones. So if you've got fitted wardrobes, perfect. Even just stored cupboards around the house for things like keeping like a Hoover in, a mop, just various, even shoes. It makes such a difference. So it's always a key thing that I will point out when I'm doing viewings. It's like, here's this cupboard, here's this cupboard.
Yeah, and when people look at things, they don't always take everything in. You need a good agent to actually point these things out to you, because they'll definitely go away and think, oh, I never checked. Was there enough storage in that cupboard or in that bedroom? Do you know? So yeah, definitely point that out and have it there so that it can be pointed out as part of the let.
Yeah, because nine times out of 10 when somebody's coming in to view, they end up going on kind of like a blinker mode as well, and they come around and they have a look and they're like, oh, it's nice, and they're like, oh, I'm sure I had some questions to ask you, now I can't remember. And it's like, you can follow up, it's fine, but people do kind of it's like when you go to do your shopping, you can have a list in your head, but as soon as you walk into the shop, you forget about it. And it's the same when people come for viewings as well. So it's, as obviously an agent, you need to be pointing these things out to people to make them be like, oh yeah, I was going to have a look at that myself. Or even just the potential for the space as well. If you maybe have that larger, higher end property, as in you could use this room for office space, or it can be a dining area or another living space. So it's good to be able to think about the property and how it's going to suit the person that you're viewing with. And especially if you do have the higher end ones, usually have more space available for them as well. It's good to be able to highlight how people can utilize that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think as well, to go hand in hand with storage and things, it's like, do you know, put some nice hooks at the door for hanging the coats up, or, do you know, in useful places, do you know, in the hallway behind the door, or, do you know, in the bathroom on the back of the door, and do you know, all these wee touches and accessories that could really add that wee bit extra style and luxury to a property, where they would probably maybe have to come in and do that themselves, but they don't have to because it's already there. We don't overdo it. I think again, there's a nice balance between having that luxury and also having that simplicity to it as well. You know, something that's really simple but still stylish. That's something. And if you're not good at that stuff, there's do you know, your agent, they might be themselves, or they might know somebody that could advise you on what to do and how best to style and renovate a space to suit your target audience, whether that be, you know, young professionals or whatever. And also lighting. Now, I'm going to cover it a wee bit when we go on to eco upgrades and things, but I'll just touch on it here. Obviously, your bulbs, having like these bare bulbs with the, do you know, the Edison style globe bulbs. I mean, they're kind of dated now. Do you know, even if you've got pendants and things, put light shades on them, and fittings with maybe, do you know, stylish kind of window treatments and things. Or, do you know, even if you're doing blinds and window coverings, have nice things that are on trend, like Venetian blinds are kind of in just now. And if you're doing curtains and dressing a window completely, think about what you're going to put there. I think Venetian blinds are very on trend, but are you going to put curtains or drapes along with that? Do you know, think about that. I mean, we can go right into the nitty gritty, but then that's when I think if you've got somebody who not styles a property, but thinks about the fundamentals of it when the renovation's getting done, and if you're providing things like window dressings and things, think about what's on trend at the moment, but while still have a bit of longevity with it. I think that's really important.
I think window coverings is quite a good one to touch on as well, because I've seen, especially in larger properties, when window coverings haven't been supplied, it can actually put somebody off taking the property, because it can be quite a big expense, especially for blinds. Obviously not so bad for curtains if that's what somebody wants, but if somebody's looking for blinds to be in the property, it can be quite expensive. And especially if that's not going to be their forever home as well, it's like, do they want to invest that money into something that realistically they're not going to be able to take away with them, because it is obviously fitted to that window. But if you are a landlord, like you say, if you're putting blinds in yourself, perfect. If not, even the idea of putting up a curtain rail can be quite good. I wouldn't say necessarily put curtains up, because again, they're quite specific to a tenant's preference.
I'm not a big fan of that either, but obviously, yeah, like you say, the curtain rail possibly.
Yeah, and it saves as well a tenant trying to do it themselves and potentially causing some damage to the wall, especially if you've just newly renovated. You don't want somebody coming in and drilling into your freshly painted, freshly plastered walls. So if you're supplying that there, it just means that they're able to come in and put in what they want curtain-wise, for example. If you've already got the railing in place and it's done professionally as well, so it'll last throughout various tenants, perhaps changing curtains. Blinds, go for quality ones, as you say, Richard, because as well, over time, there's things that get used on a daily basis. And if you buy cheap, buy twice. So they are going to end up breaking and you'll have to replace them. So if you're going for quality ones, they should hopefully last the test of time throughout tenancies.
Yeah, I think obviously, like what people might think, that a lot of what I've run through there, I think, God, that would be a bit pricey to do things like that. But I think ultimately what you have to think about is if you're elevating that interior space to create that really, you know, that great impression and that irresistible space to tenants, they're obviously and gladly going to pay a premium rent for it, because they could see that there's such meticulous attention to detail and things are crafted in a certain way. So although it might be a wee bit extra outlay, you're going to command a higher rent, and that's what this is all about. It's about creating that, not just your standard buy to let, which is fine and up to a reasonable standard. This is on the next level. It's like that luxury, and we see it more and more now. And that's what people, because a lot more people are now renting for the longer term, they want that little bit extra luxury.
Yeah,
so that's internals in general. But then what about specific spaces? Like we're going to talk about, like kind of upscaling. Do you know the main things like kitchens and bathrooms? And Kerin, run us through that.
Yeah, so obviously decor is things that tenants can change themselves. They could easily paint a wall. However, kitchens and bathrooms are obviously fixtures that they can't change. So ultimately, it's something that you want to be putting out as a nice quality one, because it's not something that the tenant can alter. So if you have something nice, neutral, perfect. But kitchens and bathrooms can be obviously deciding factors for tenants, who often see them as key indicators for a home's quality, and modernly from high-end aesthetics to advanced functionality. So again, there's lots of different factors that come into when you're designing a bathroom or kitchen if you are looking to put ones in. So different ways that you can achieve this is integrated kitchen appliances from premium brands like Bosch, Neff, AEG, Simmons, Michelle, like loads of different top brands out there that should again last the test of time throughout tenancies.
Yeah.
and it gives you that top of the range statement as well. You don't need to necessarily buy the most latest model, but a good quality one will obviously ensure longevity and give you that higher end finish for the property.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because people again might think, well, those kind of appliances are expensive, but maybe not just the brand new model that they've just brought out. You'll get an older model which is still new at a reasonable price, and like you say, still adds that kind of element of luxury, and it will stand the test of time because they're good products.
Things as well like replacing kitchen cupboard doors, adding new worktops with matching upstand, fixing a stainless steel or glass splashback behind the hob, and installing under unit lighting. Now, I would say the under unit lighting is quite a good one because it makes you think of that higher quality for it. If you do have
that the extra,
yeah, or even like you get the little spotlights and kickboards as well. Again, things that maybe are not too expensive to fit. Even the under unit lights, you can pick them up off of Amazon and just freestand and fit them. You don't need an electrician or anything like that for that. So again, these can be cheap little things that you can put in just to give it that extra little bit to make it look more high quality.
Yeah.
An extra large shower with a rainfall shower head is obviously quite a key one as well. As one of the ones I always point out, if you've got the rainfall shower head, it's a nice feature to have in there as well, and things that quite a lot of tenants do prefer these days as well. But a frameless glass screen looks sleek, keeps the heat in for drying off, and avoids water escaping onto the floors and making puddles, because ultimately you do not want water leaks coming in from your bathroom either.
And it happens.
It does. That's why when you do your inspections, you always check the bath or shower seal and the grouting. Nice, easy fixes to save you having big costs for when that starts leaking into potentially room downstairs if you have an upstairs bathroom. Again, things such as upgrading plain, worn or cheap taps to designer models in elegant brands, and nice metal finishings as well.
Nice chrome finish always does it.
Yeah, chrome one is nice. Black, it does look nice, but it doesn't seem to stand the test of time.
It's on trend at the moment, but how long will that last, I think, is something to think about,
Even just for the look of them keeping clean and just wearing, they seem to wear a lot quicker than like your chrome ones do. So chrome seems to be the better. Again, this is just the experience that we've kind of had with the many properties that we do manage. The ones that have got the black in them, although it looks nice, how long will it last?
Yeah.
But swapping out a bathroom radiator for a heated towel rail is another easy fix to add that sense of luxury as well.
Yeah, the heated towel rails are a lot better than, because you could have, you get all the towels on it and it looks nice. And like you say, if you've got the chrome towel rail and your chrome tile taps and things, it creates that look.
Exactly. And other ones as well, such as large format tiles on bathroom walls and floors in plain or neutral colours, finishes such as stone, slate or marble. Patterns, they can look nice just now, but they can quickly change and date very quickly as well. So again, keeping it neutral is the best way forward. And colour matching grout adds that splash of finesse to it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, if you're going for those larger tiles as well in the bathroom, it means that it's easier to keep on top of going forward. If they do need grouted, it's easier to go around them and make sure that that's done. If you've got all these little micro tiles or smaller tiles in a bathroom or kitchen, for example, it's harder to keep them clean. Obviously, more work if they do need grouted, again, moving forward, which at some point they probably will if you're in this for the long haul. So going for bigger tiles can be the better option for tenants.
Yeah. The bigger tiles with like the black grout or the grey grout and things looks really nice. It's really on trend, and like you say, it's a lot better than having white in between, because it can discolor quite easily and things. So yeah, definitely that's a I think in the larger tile, if you're tiling as opposed to wet wall, tiles create that more luxurious kind of spa feeling. If you know what I mean, in the bathroom, as opposed to obviously wet wall can be quite nice and things, but it could look a little bit. Sometimes it can look a bit clinical. Do you know what I mean? Rather than having that luxury feel.
Yeah, you do get some nice wet walls out there, but we've seen ones that have gone in and it is just a bit. It's not got that finish for the high end ones. It's good for, obviously it's easier to fit. It's easy maintenance going forward because it's nice and cleanable. And obviously you don't need to grout it. You just need to make sure it's all sealed up properly. But if you're going for that higher quality finish, tiles can be the more luxurious option there for it. But even coming back to the kitchen units as well, obviously we've seen landlords that have maybe started their journey, obviously renovating properties, and they want to put the good quality property out there to achieve the higher quality rent. But things as well for future proofing, such as obviously we've touched on painting, colour schemes such as that, but even kitchens, putting in a gloss kitchen can last a lot better than a matte kitchen. Matte can look lovely, but again, it won't stand the test of time as well. It won't clean as well. So if you are putting a new kitchen or even just changing doors, like we've touched on, a gloss finish is probably more suitable for a rental property.
Yeah, they're a lot more durable and things. You know, I was in a property actually the other day, and it wasn't a rental property, it was a sale property. But the kitchen units were an olivey sage green colour, but that was maybe a little bit deeper than that. And then they had the black countertop, and it just looked so good. And it was really, it really looked good. But then I think, how long would the green, last for? In 2-3 years, will it be a bit like, oh, that's a bit naff, or off, should I say? Naff, kind of. But it just looks so good now. So you could still, introduce colour and things, but be careful about how long it's going to last.
I know, I love a blue kitchen, but again, it's like, how will that stand the test of time, or will it get to a few years and be like, this is not nice anymore?
Yeah, so I think they recently had, I don't know if they still got it, and they had the, the setup in B&Q or whatever it was, and it was the blue with the gold, and it looked really good. But I thought, how long will the gold handles and things, that would go away quickly? But it looks really nice at the moment.
If it's things as well, like if you're keeping it quite neutral based, and you're maybe putting like accessories in that have got that colour to them, like we see like gold handles, for example.
Well, they could be changed.
Exactly. So down the line, you can change them over to something more in line with the trends at the current time if it's something smaller like that. So there are ways to add little touches of personality, we'll say, or character, but without, obviously, with still making it future proof that you can change them over.
Yeah, well, the gold handles on kitchen are a perfect example of trying to, give them that element of luxury. But then if they go out of trend or fashion, then you could change them to chrome or change them to black or change, so and then still keep the blue cabinet. So I suppose, there's ways and means of doing it and finding that balance.
Yeah, definitely. But when it's all done well, these rooms become a powerful selling point that showcase the hallmarks of a luxurious home. They meet the aspirations of high-paying tenants and command a truly premium rent.
Yeah, definitely. And the kitchen's a big one. These main rooms that, if you've got that standing out, and really, they're the ones that catch people. So if you get them right, then you're on to a winner. That's obviously, we've done the exterior, we've done, the interior, we've done, certain aspects of these main rooms and things as well. I did say I was going to come to the smart and kind of eco upgrades, which is really relevant now with obviously minimum EPC bandings and things coming in. And as home technology kind of advances as well, there's so many smart systems, energy efficiency is now a really essential and quite affluent part of the whole tenant journey. And they do want features that simplify their daily life and, make them kind of feel safe and secure and connected as well. When we think about Wi-Fi connections and things. So there are some things that could help meet their expectations. So to run through a few, obviously, right off one of the most important things for any kind of modern tenant nowadays is hardwired high-speed broadband. Now, generally, people might think that, well, we don't include broadband, but we're talking about luxury finish here, and we're probably talking about possibly, working professionals or mature students and people in these kinds of areas who need broadband. So to include that, as part of the let, then obviously just all adds to that luxury and ease of the property, which people will pay a higher rent for. And having not just the internet there, having multiple outlets or possibly key areas that ensure kind of they could seamlessly stream things or work at home and have that proper smart home experience. A lot of people work from home, let's say if it's mature students, and they study from home, and it's a way of life now, and it's becoming, it's like the dishwasher. The dishwasher was always seen as a luxury, and now it's starting to become quite a part of the norm, and it's like an expectation. Broadband and things is heading in that way as well, because it's such a big part of everybody's life and what they do. So that's something to definitely think about.
I would say as well, even if it's not that you're including it, but having it set up so you've got the option for a tenant to be able just to come in and get their broadband plugged in. One of the ones we usually ask is there fibre in the area? And it's like, well, most areas do have it now, but some lines and points haven't been upgraded to that yet. So making sure that you've got the points that a tenant's not having to arrange a delay for an engineer to come in and set this all up. If, for example, they're working from home as well, that's going to be key for them getting in and just being able to get settled in, started up. So if you've got the points all upgraded that they can just come in and get plugged in and go, then it's beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because if it's all set up connectivity wise, then it's just a case of them contacting whoever the provider is. And I think in a matter of clicks, they could be connected as long as the setup's there. And that just makes life so much easier, especially if you're moving into a new property and you need to work or you need to study. You're going to need that quite quickly. So yeah, definitely. Also, you know, as we progress in technology and things, there's a lot of things like the smart thermostats. We've got a few with the Hive. You also get like Nest and things, and they do offer a lot more accessibility to people. For, you know, you could do all that for your phone basically without actually being at the property, and that offers that a more simplistic way of managing their heating, you know, or their hot water or just the whole, and it makes things a lot more energy efficient, whereas you're not having to set a timer for it to come on and it be on for a long period of time before you even get there. So these things are good. With the Hive and things, they are brilliant. Make sure they're set up right and your account's sorted, and because we have been there, they're a great thing when they're set up correctly.
Yeah, it's like technology. It's great when it works.
Yeah.
And again, it gives you that luxury finish for it, but if the tenant can connect to it, obviously quite a lot of them it has to be like the person that's kind of purchased it and done that initial setup has the account for doing it through their phone. So ones like that, it is effectively just ends up being another controller in the house. So and again, it can be a little bit confusing for tenants to use, but it does give that luxury finish when people come in and see that's the control for it. Personally, I do love the boilers that just have the clock timer built into them, and it's got the wee pins that you move in and out. It is. And at the end of the day, you're going to have multiple different tenants coming in, so it needs to be something that is going to be usable for everybody. If you do have something that's that bit more complex, have a manual available for it so a tenant can get in and figure out how to set it up, because there's nothing more frustrating than when you move in, especially if it's in the winter time and you're trying to get your heating on or you need hot water for a shower and you can't figure out how to use the controller. And I mean, obviously we do the move-ins, we do multiple move-ins a week, this is how you work the boiler, but there's still some that stump me and I'm like, right, we're going to have to get the manual for this one, because they do make them quite complex sometimes.
What I quite like is I in my own home, I have a remote, which is, you know, I can move it anywhere in my home. You know, it could be sat next to the bed, it could be sat next to in the living room or wherever, and it's quite easy to use. It's not like, you know, it's not rocket science, which some of them are, and it makes it really difficult. But I think just having that remote connectivity as really just, you feel like you've got that more control over what's going on. And I think you match that up with some, as you said, this A+ rated appliances and things. It will really reduce your energy consumption because you've only got hot water and heating on when you need it. And, you know, if appliances and things that are A+ rated. And so, I mean, people are so energy efficient, conscious at the moment. I mean, for the most part, if you're a tenant, I think it's such a big part. A lot of people now, it's what they ask us, what's the energy efficiency rating? I remember there was always EPCs for, you know, as long as I've done lettings, but no one's ever asked the question, but they do now anyway. So,
but yeah, the council tax band.
That in the council tax band, yes. But yeah, and then I think as well, like ample and well placed, you know, power sockets. The power sockets now with the USB and things in there, that just adds that little bit extra as well. I know they're a wee bit more expensive than a normal socket, but as I say, we're adding this wee bit of luxury here. And people with phones and tablets and laptops and gadgets, if you've got possibly one in the kitchen at the right end of the worktop or the breakfast bar, or in the right location in the living room where people may sit or study, or next to a study area, this is going to make all the difference to them, definitely.
And it's not even a case of having them in every single room of the house, like you say. Like you could have one like in your main spaces, like maybe next to the bedside tables, or in your living room, kitchen, like the main kind of places that people are going to be spending that length of time on their appliances, for their phone, for example. And it does create that more luxury look for it when you've got your USB. It's just a bit more modern than your typical plug sockets.
Yeah, you could also have smart lighting and things is quite a luxury touch. And these usually connect through Google or Alexa or whatever. You don't need to provide the Alexa as long as you've got the lighting timer thing. Then it'll connect through to the Alexa that's on site. I've actually got them. You were quite impressed with them, Kerin, in my house. You've seen mine. So
yeah, it's handy for the winter for putting the light on.
yeah, good, you could set a timer. You could tell Alexa to turn them on, turn them off. It's quite good, especially if you've got, if you want to not come home to a dark house, or possibly you've got pets or something. They are quite good, and they are that wee bit extra style. They're not that overly expensive either, to be fair. So they're quite a good extra touch. And like I say, it's all the wee extra things that add to the luxury. Doorbell.
So even for that, just quickly before we move on, is like security as well. So like if you've got tenants that are going away on holiday, they can set it so the light's still coming on while they're away, so it still looks like somebody's living in the house. So it's keeping your property that bit more protected as well if you've got that option there.
And I think it gives it, if you're possibly living on your own, if you're a younger tenant, if you're a student, if you're a somebody that is living on their own. I was going to say a lady, but then ladies or guys on their own, just that wee bit more like you're not walking into a pitch black house. You've got the lamp at the front door will be on when you come in, and just things like that. That added security, and it just adds that comfort and things as well. I was going to move on to doorbells and things, and they are, again, obviously something that needs to be connected through via the app or whatever. If you want to include them, you can do. As I say, generally it's not something I would advise, but because we're talking about luxury here, it's maybe something to consider. I think it would be more dependent on what kind of let you had and where it was. I think if you're maybe in a really built up area in a city and things, like you say, to create that maybe extra security for maybe possibly students or people that are living, if it's a 1-bedroom flat, somebody that's going to be on their own possibly, that's maybe something you could add in, and that might make all the difference to them and make them feel that wee bit more secure. So that really falls into security, and it's something that you can do. And along with that, have good quality locks on doors and windows, and the safety aspect. As you say, Kerin, not just for the safety of the tenant, which is paramount, it also keeps your property safe as well. And it's all round kind of, it's good practice, obviously locks and door handles and things, but you would be very surprised how much it kind of lacks in some instances. So always
one this morning that I did a move in at, and it's a very safe area in the East Nuke, nice, quiet, and again, high quality property. And there's 3 locks on the door. So trying to get that one open is fun because there's 2 Yale keys. So I was opening the door for the tenant this morning to obviously welcome into his new home. And I was like, well, it's a very safe property. So you've got all these locks on the door in a very safe area. So we were having a laugh about it. But again, it's the security of the tenant and your properties. So they've obviously been very cautious with this one, which is fair enough because they've spent a lot of money inside and it's a lovely property. We've achieved the premium rent for it, got a lovely tenant moving in. So you can see why they want it to be nice and secure. Yeah,
it's always better safe than sorry, I suppose.
Exactly.
But with the smart and the eco measures and things as well, although it will enhance your property's appeal, I think that smart home technology approach kind of showcases that you're maybe a forward-thinking landlord and have that outlook that kind of meets the aspirations of that kind of high-paying tenant that wants to actually pay the premium rent, but you need to justify them paying that. And I think these wee added touches, you don't have to do them all. I mean, I think obviously the locks and the doors and the windows are a given. But I think, if you want to do the smart lighting or the doorbell or the hive, you don't have to do all of these. But I think adding in maybe something, 1 or 2 of these or these kind of measures will just add that little bit extra and will make all the difference to somebody making that decision to actually take on a property and pay a premium rent.
Yeah, I would say the USBs on the plug sockets is probably the most beneficial one and probably the easiest one that will be easy enough for a landlord to do and also for a tenant to use as well. They're probably one of the easier. It's like if you're looking for that smarter technology side, that's probably your best way forward. If you're just looking to do one of them.
I'm trying to think. We done our kitchen and put one on the kitchen. And I think the normal. I think we've done the chrome. Or like the off chrome sockets anyway, and your normal socket was what, $7.99 or $8.99, And the one with the USB in that, I think it was like $26.99. But we just put one in along the end, and it's fine. We charge the phones and everything in it, and that's all it needs. And it just see that the difference it makes to us. So I know, do you know, in a property that's got people that, do you know, use their phones and gadgets and things at will, especially if you've got students and people that study and work from home.
Yeah.
So, and then the all important, and I'm going to let you cover this, Kerin. I know we've both done our gardens recently and spent quite a lot of time, but you have you've done yours like you've spent a lot of time.
Transformative.
Yeah, wow. So I'll let you kick off with this luxury outdoor living space, because you have created that for yourself.
Yes. So if your rental property has a balcony, terrace, or a small garden, you have the unique opportunity to transform it into a striking outdoor area with magnetic appeal and added tremendous value. The magic formula for attracting premium tenants is to create a luxury backdrop for their future home with a stylish, functional, and easy to care for space. Now, that is one of the key things there. You can have a gorgeous garden. We have some that are quite mature in our portfolio, and they are beautiful. However, they come with a gardener.
They come with that. They've got
because people can appreciate it, but not everybody is green thumbed. So just having that little bit of a premium rent, but having a gardener included in it can make sure that your garden stays that luxury, high end quality that you've put out there. But again, you can still achieve that higher end side of it without having to have anything mature shrubbery, things like that. Like you can have it nice and that's very much what I've done with mine. It looks gorgeous now, especially compared to what it used to.
You've still got a lot of greenery, but it's not overly like, God, you would have to spend a lot of time in the garden to keep this looking the way it is.
Yeah, literally I've managed to get
lawn and things. Yeah,
so I've managed to get mine to the point where it's literally a case of doing some weeding and cutting the grass.
Yeah, and which is more than manageable.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's just a big rectangle of grass, so easy, zipping up and down. I did my parents' grass when they were on holiday, and it was very awkward.
Do you cut your grass? Or
I do cut my grass. It's actually one thing I do. I enjoy my gardening, seeing as I've spent so much money doing the garden up. So it's but again, it's that mentality of you've put this nice quality product out there, and it makes somebody want to keep it that way. So that's what I've obviously done a lot of work to my garden, and I want to keep it looking nice. So I enjoy cutting my grass now. I'm not so much the weeding, but beggars can't be choosers. But there's obviously different ways that you can do this. So these pointers are for a perfect blank slate. Yep. So you can fit some decking, either composite or timber. I would say the composite, although it is that bit more expensive, it does seem to last better. You don't have to do various treatments of it. Obviously, if you're going for timber, you're going to have to stain it, you're going to have to paint it, which is going to need continuously done throughout the years, basically, when you've got a tenant in. So if you go for that composite side, it is a bit hassle-free, and what you might spend more initially, you'll probably save both in time and money going forward with having to do treatments for a timber decking. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I've got a big decking area and things, and it's fine, and we treated it all. Did it get done last year? And it's fine this year, but by the time next year, I'm going to have to do it all again. And that's fine for yourself, but if you think about tenants and things and upkeep, and a tenant could be in there 4 or 5 years, it's like are you expecting them to do that, or are you going to have somebody come in to do that? So pay that wee bit extra at the start, get the composite, you don't have to worry about it.
And it's not something that tenants expect to do either, because it kind of comes under, although it's garden maintenance, it's still kind of that property maintenance side. So in a tenant's mind, it's something that should be down to the landlord. So if you are having a timber decking and you are going to want it treated going forward, either be prepared to do it yourself or have that conversation with your tenant that they are going to be responsible for it. And when you're doing your inspections, check that they are doing it, because if it doesn't get done, you're going to have a very rotten decking to then have to deal with.
I think for me personally, it's probably, if it's a reasonable size, if it's not too much, and your tenant's happy to, like you say, as long as you can make sure they actually are looking after it, then that's fine. But if you've got quite a big decking area and things, I think it kind of falls back to the landlord. But it's a bit of a grey area.
But other things you can do is putting in stone pavers. They're far more attractive than plain poured concrete or concrete slabs. They're also low maintenance option as well.
Which is what you've got.
Yes, they look lovely. As I can say, hand on heart, would rather redo a house than redo the garden. The garden was so much work.
Gardens take a lot of work, they really do.
Yes. But as a premium, you can offer, some landlords now include gardeners, as I say, so they can visit with rent for planned outdoor spaces, from gardens with lawns and flower beds to patios with built-in containers. So as we said there, you can arrange a gardener. We do have some that have got gorgeous mature gardens that do need a gardener to attend to them. There's different trees, shrubs that need cut certain ways, certain times of the year. So if you have that premium rent, means that they get the gardener as well, and you have the peace of mind of knowing that garden's being looked after, and the tenant has a peace of mind of not having to worry they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Walls and fences get very little thought, but a fresh coat of paint in a neutral, muted tone can give weather timber or bricks a lift, adding a sense of seclusion and luxury. So I think that's another thing as well, is one, make sure that you're looking after the fences, because especially with the weather that we get, you can get 4 seasons in one day. We've had a few storms over the year as well. So making sure that your fence posts are secure, treated regularly, I'll keep that longevity of your fence, and just giving that freshen up as well. When you're doing viewings and maybe there's a fence post that is given way and the fence has got a big dip in it, it is a bit off-putting for tenants.
Yeah.
So just making sure it's being looked after. And the fences do give that sense of privacy as well. As you said, Richard, people are a lot more conscious of their garden space now just after lockdown. So having that private space that they can go, even if they've had a long day at work, that nice space that they can go out and relax in if we've got nice weather, it just makes all that difference for them as well.
I think that lick of paint it's the same. It does the same outside as it does inside. Do you know, just that fresh coat of paint, it just makes all the difference.
Well, year-round usability, day and night adds more of a sense of usability for your tenant, with soft-toned outdoor lighting for a magical evening ambience, and low energy heaters as well can make, obviously, for the cooler seasons. We do not get nice weather all year round, unfortunately, here, so you do have that option there as well. If you do want that more luxury sense to the garden, having the heater installed for it could be a good, nice little extra that a lot of properties don't have or don't even think about either, but it means your tenant's getting the use of the garden all year round as opposed to just when we have nicer weather. Yeah,
because if you've got a sheltered area and things, although, do you know, it could be quite wet, do you know, temperature wise and that, we could get quite far into the year, do you know, October time and things, you could still sit outside as long as you're sheltered.
Even areas like summer houses as well, they're not only these days for somebody to be able to sit in and have that peaceful garden space, but having it inside, people, if it's close enough to the house as well, people can also use it as like office space.
Yeah.
If it's big enough, maybe a bit of gym space, or even space for their kids to go out and play in if that they're not leaving the property. So if you do have that outside space as well, it can be quite beneficial for a tenant. But again, it's making sure it's looked after, making sure it's painted regularly. The roof's kept in it as well. You get quite a lot of sheds that maybe the roof starts to leak. So making sure it's felted regularly, there's no holes in it, and making sure it's secure. So when we do get those storms, it's not flying into the neighbour's garden.
Yeah, definitely.
But with all of these implements in place, your rental property will be poised to attract higher quality and higher paying tenants with desirable qualities that drives up the demand and ensures premium rent for years to come.
Yeah, and I think that's the point in today's show, I think, because possibly if you're an investor and things watching, and you might think, do you know, these things are a wee bit ostentatious and things, and potentially they maybe are, but if you're, the topic today was luxury lettings, and these very much are luxury points of view. And I do still think, though, there is always room for balance, where you could still have luxury, but still have longevity and the ability to things to stand the test of time and not just be, you know, the latest trend or the latest fad and they're just going to go out of fashion. If you've got the right advice, I think that's the important thing as well. So I think the question you probably need to ask yourself is the time it kind of locks up your letting, depending on where you are, you might be in a position or located somewhere where you could actually potentially have a really high earning property, but you'll need to bring it up a level to be able to command that kind of rent.
Yeah, definitely. And as we say, the better you put out quality wise, the higher rent you're going to get and the better tenant as well. And it just sets that pretense for this is how you want the property to be kept going forward as well. If you're putting out a property that's tired, maybe needing some upgrading, I mean, they should still look after it the same, but it doesn't set that same mindset for a tenant. Whereas if you've got something nice, fresh, well looked after, got these slight improvements that do kind of give it that more modern touch to it, it does attract a higher paying tenant that's willing to pay that extra for the luxury that they're getting with it. And again, dishwashers as well, like you said, they're a good one to have.
Definitely. So thanks for that, Kerin, and thanks for all your insights. And I think if you're watching it and you own a rental property, do you know, if you're thinking about switching your target audience and switching your target market so that you get that higher yield and higher paying tenants, then feel free to message us. You could jump in the comments, and if this is a rerun, still jump in the comments. You could get us. My direct email is attached to the blog in here. It's richard.cook@fifeproperties.co.uk. Any questions, feel free to come to us. And that was Luxury Lens. So thanks for that, Kerin.
No problem.
And thanks for everybody watching. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you are in an area where you think, God, I could be getting a lot more for this in a different tenant, then maybe have a wee look through the blog attached or listen to the tips that we've covered today on luxury lettings. Yeah. Right, that's great, Kerin. Thank you. Thanks to all. And we will see you next time for the Saturday show. And I'll leave it there.
See you later.
Thank you. Bye.